Welcome, Warriors.
Yay!
Welcome back. We're excited to be with you today.
Yes.
We are not quitting on you today. We're not quitting on ourselves, but
And we're
sometimes
not talking about quitting jobs.
No, for once.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of our giving up stories have to do with work.
Mm-hmm.
Warriors, today we did our quitting stories a while back.
Mm-hmm.
But today we're going to be chatting with you all a little bit about acts of quitting that don't have to do with work, but that are more related to like things that maybe we're working on or we're working on or we're thinking about working on.
Yeah.
Maybe projects. Maybe there are things you want to do, but they're overwhelming or you don't have the support right now or whatever. Or maybe there are things you don't want to do at all. And so you've just decided, no, I'm not doing this thing. I quit.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't.
Or maybe, I mean, I feel inspired by what Nancy Beachy, our previous guest, said about being a strong opener and a poor closer. Like,
yeah,
I feel like I quit on a lot of things because I too feel like a strong opener, start a lot of projects, right? And then like, the closing is really hard.
It's got to be partially related to ADHD. I don't know how, but it has to be.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the dopamine.
Yeah. It's the initial excitement about like tackling something, even if it's kind of small.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it's going to last for more than like 10 minutes or something, I'm like, oh my God, I've lost interest in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the struggle is real.
Or with executive functioning, if it's bigger projects, like you and I both know, like with writing, right? Like you have published a book.
Yeah.
I am working on a book. The steps to get there are a lot. And if you try to do it like on your own, like the executive functioning part of the brain for me is like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, run from this. No, thank you. This is too hard.
Yeah.
Literally.
Right. It's too much, right? So you like start it, you write it out. You're like, I have this great book, but now I have to like find an illustrator, get a book designer, get an ISBN number or submit it, constantly get rejected, find an agent, find a phone, right? It's like so many different things that it's so overwhelming. It's in a sense easier to quit, even though that might not be the thing that feels the best in the long term.
Yeah. It's dizzying. It can be really dizzying. It's like for me, I know if it's something I know that ultimately I need or want, right? Like you will get this book done. That's not going to be one of the things you quit. I know it's not.
Right.
Because you've come a lot farther, right, in more recent months than you had for the previous many months. And you're talking more openly about it.
Yes.
And so there's some accountability there, right?
Bingo.
So like you've put it, but so there are the things, Warriors, that we put in our minds that they suck. The process really blows. Maybe it's hard, it's sticky, it's dizzying, it's so much, it's overwhelming, it's exhausting, but you know that ultimately it's right, it's meant for you, it's going to be worth it, it's going to feel good inside, you're going to be putting out something that's useful and helpful. And so that was one of the things that pushed me through that project myself.
Right.
And
you had like
it
accountability.
Does feel easier. Right.
Yeah. That helps
in many
so
different forms. I had several different, and I know you're working on that now too. It's like we all need, maybe not everyone. Maybe some people are just so naturally good at this, but that's not us. And we were talking about us. So and if you're listening and hopefully you resonate even in some small way, or people that, can resonate, because it really is easier to let something go than to see it through.
Which is why, like what you were saying earlier is like, you've noticed I'm speaking about it, right? So there's so many things I've quit on that I don't talk about because I've had so many interests and passions and things I'm excited about over the years. And if you tell people about it and then they ask you about it later and you've quit on it, it's embarrassing. It's like, oh, I was really passionate about that but I stopped. Right. And then it's like, like all excuses about why I didn't follow through. Right. So that part about talking about it, it's like, how many things do we not speak out loud because we don't trust in our ability to follow through?
Yeah. But it's like, I want to go back to something you just said, which is it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
So like, why do you, and I feel the same way. I feel ashamed.
Yeah.
Somehow. And so why do you think that is?
Yeah.
Why is it so embarrassing? What's so shameful about not, and I'm saying shameful in
Right,
quotes,
right,
air
right.
quotes, right? What's so shameful about quitting something?
Right. I think it depends. Is it a solo project or a group project?
Okay.
Right? When there's
Who
a
can I
group
blame for this?
involved. Right. Who else,
Yeah.
whose fault is it? No, but in a group project, like the story I'm going to share is me quitting on a group, right?
Ooh.
And that caused a lot of anxiety because I couldn't stop like having ruminating thoughts about it and everything because I felt like I was letting people down, and that part of like who I am is I like to support people and help people, and I felt like I wasn't aligning with my values, right? So in
Okay.
that sense there was a lot of like shame in the group, right? Not the group didn't have any, I don't think they had any issues with me, right? But for me, there's a lot of shame in relation to the group, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When it's solo projects, the shame is just like, oh, you couldn't follow through again, right? It's like,
Mm, the
why can't
internal
you just
bashing.
get it together? Right. It's not like from other people, right? It's like, oh, of course you're gonna like have this passion and then give it up. It's like it's just
Yes.
negative self-talk in the head that causes the shame.
You feed into the pattern.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like it's exactly the same. I mean, it really it feels like I don't want to disappoint people,
Yes.
and that includes myself.
Yes.
And so what it winds up feeling like is like I have less of the narrative of there you go again, Margot,
Mm-hmm.
and more of the narrative of like don't talk about it because then it's not real.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
never real if I
Yeah.
didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And or if I only told like those one or two people, but like I know I can trust them and they know I'm better than that. And I'm more than what I put out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's such a
Mm-hmm.
hard pill to swallow for me, which it's like that should just be so intrinsically obvious. We're all more than what we put out in the world.
Yeah.
And simultaneously, we're enough with doing exactly what we're doing right now. Just
Yeah.
existing in the world, we're enough. And so trying to square what I feel like are the demands that I place on myself in terms of achieving things or
Yeah.
doing more or the most, even like versus you know, my own just valuing who I am without
Mm-hmm.
anything. So I think that's my narrative is just like it's less about beating myself up about like the pattern
Yeah.
and more about like each thing by itself. It just feels like I wanted to get that thing done and I
Yeah.
didn't, but it's okay because I'm the only one that knew about it. And so I can deal with shoving down the disappointment myself. And it's easier for me to shove it down myself than it is
Yes.
to shove it down with the perception, not even the knowledge or the factual beings, right? That like the
Mm-hmm.
perception that other people, whether they be in my life or total strangers on Instagram, are like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, what the fuck? Margaret didn't get that thing done. Like, oh, she
Right.
must be terrible. She sucks,
Right.
whatever.
What a disappointment.
Yeah, like literally
Yeah.
no one's thinking about my life and my
No.
achievements in the same way that I am. So like,
Right. No,
yeah.
I feel that disappointment, that's a good way to put it, right? And so I
Yeah.
think that because I've disappointed myself so much, especially like in
Yeah.
my 20s and stuff, about having all these things I wanted to do and then not doing them, that's why I think of the pattern, and that's why I don't speak about things until I'm like, no, I'm going to close this, right? I've
Yeah.
opened it, I'm going to close it now, right? It might take time, but right. And so I very much relate to that disappointment piece.
All right, let's hear the story. I can't wait.
Okay. All right. So I recently ish went back to improv, right? And I had taken a level 2 class, right? I felt like, I hadn't really done improv since before the pandemic. My muscles were all atrophied, my improv muscles. And I wanted to start from like the beginning, right? But 101 is super basic. I felt like, okay, let me start at 2. And I was also looking to like make friends and have people to hang out with and everything. And to put it nicely, the class was disappointing. Our teacher seemed pretty checked out. She obviously had other things going on in her life, and making improv like fun and community oriented and encouraging us to get to know each other more was like not her priority.
Right.
And so a lot of the things we did, and I had taken this level before, I know it's possible, right? A lot of things we did were all just kind of like a group of people being told to do an activity. No one's really understanding the why. We're not connecting as a group. We're not feeling super connected with each other. We're not learning how to play with each other and improvise with each other. We're like learning things in a lesson plan and then being told to do it on stage. And then she wasn't really great at coaching us to do better. Right. So already, you're supposed to do a show at the end of every level. And already I was already super, super, super anxious about the show because I didn't really feel, well, even if I felt super connected with everyone in my class and we were going to be best friends for the rest of the life together, I still would have been anxious about the show. I don't like doing shows, right? They're very nerve-wracking. Right. In the past, I always did the shows, even though I felt like I was going to pee myself on stage, right? Still did the shows. But this one, I was feeling so much anxiety about the show because I didn't feel like I connected with anyone. I didn't feel like anyone really understood like some of the skills that we were supposed to learn in 201. Like it just felt like chaos a lot, right?
Right.
And there was this one guy who is just absolutely awful at improv. Like Michael Scott's improv. It's like you're having a good scene with someone and then he comes on and he's like, I got a gun. And you're like, no, dude, read the room. Like you shouldn't have stepped on stage. Right. And so like many of us tried to avoid being in scenes with this person. Right. So we're getting close to the show and it's like our last class, and out of 14 people in our last class, only 6 show up. Right. Wow. And we find out that of the 14 people, only 6, not the 6 that showed up for the last class, but only 6 are going to the show, which is like unheard of. Usually like the whole group's there. Right. And then you're supposed to perform for like 15 minutes with 14 people, which is much easier than with 6 people. And when one of those people is the guy that's super hard to play with on stage, I had insomnia. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I really didn't want to do the show. I didn't want to do the show. I had so much anxiety and ruminating thoughts and like, what a waste of time. It takes so long to drive there. You have to hang out, right? I'm still getting comfortable being in public post-pandemic, right? Like there's all these things, but ultimately like I didn't feel connected to these people and I didn't want to do the show, but I felt like by quitting, I wasn't helping the group because I already had empathy for the rest of the group because they were all pretty upset too that no one was really going to the show. Everyone just all of a sudden had other plans. I'm sure it's because they didn't have fun in the class, right?
Yep.
And so like there was 6 of us total that were going to go to the show. And finally I was like, I can't do this. Right. I like was thinking about it all the time. Even if I was focusing on other things, it was just running in my background, this like noisy anxiety of like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I also don't want to quit on these people.
Yeah.
And then so finally I decided, I was like, I'm not doing it. Like this dumb 15-minute show is not worth my mental health. And the moment that I said that to myself, I felt better. Yeah. I just felt so much better. And then I texted, 3 of the people in the group. And I was like, hey, listen, I can't. And they were like, I get it. Yeah. Right. They're like, I totally get it. And that was it. And I didn't go. And I've been texting with a few of them since then. Like no one hates me. No one's like, wow, you're awful. Like never speak to any of us again.
Sure.
And you know, it's funny because some people feel like the show was okay. And some people feel like the show was a hot mess. And ultimately, it's just a show. It doesn't really matter, but like, it wasn't worth it for my, like to sacrifice my anxiety, like my mental health like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything you said sounded like a struggle, like having insomnia over something.
Yeah, I couldn't stop like perseverating and obsessing on
over
something
where like, it's not really a high pressure situation, right? It's supposed to be like this is just like, it's like the end project at school, right? Where like
it's a showcase.
You're not getting a grade. There isn't anything attached to it. It's not attached to like your money or income or So like, yeah,
if I can
but
go to
yet
the next class or not, like I can still take
right.
another class.
You're paying to be there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not for college credits or for school or for
Yep.
work. So like, but yet we still have that. I can totally relate to that narrative of just like, but I'm letting people down.
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
even slightly letting myself down? Which at the end of the day, it sounds like you honored yourself.
Yeah.
You didn't let yourself down. You
Yeah.
may have worried, at least briefly, about letting down some of your classmates, which
Yeah.
it sounds like once you had the courage to reach out to them and tell them,
Yeah.
I'm not coming, here's why.
Yeah.
And they clearly understood because I'm sure some
Mm-hmm.
of them didn't want to show up either, but they
Yeah.
just did for who knows whatever reason,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what you did was really courageous because it's really hard for some of us to honor ourselves no matter the consequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
No matter who we might disappoint
Mm-hmm.
and who might be, saddened or hurt or whatever by our decision.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, who's more important, right?
Yeah.
Is your mental health the most important?
Right.
Or is your physical body and your mental state the most important?
Right.
Obviously, the answer is yes, right?
Yeah.
Like that is the only thing that you have.
Yeah.
And you should always disappoint other people if and if it, how do I want to say this? Like you always disappoint others before you disappoint yourself. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have got to do what's right for you,
Right.
especially if your body is telling you.
Right.
Your body's literally screaming at you.
Yeah.
This isn't right
Yeah.
for you. And
Right.
like you said, you acknowledged it. And that's it. It changed everything. Like
Yeah.
I felt the sigh of relief in my own body because I've been there, right? We've all
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah. And like, I just like, for me, I definitely am about putting myself in uncomfortable situations, right? So for me, I had experience doing the shows and knowing they're uncomfortable, but being able to tell myself I can handle it, right? So like I knew I could handle this, but I knew I didn't want to do it, right? So it wasn't even like, even though I had so much anxiety about quitting on the group, right?
Yeah.
I didn't I I just knew it wasn't right for me. I knew that like I've done shows before. I've had these experiences, right? Like it wasn't just the anxiety that made me quit. If that makes
Mm,
sense. I just knew that show with that group of people, it just wasn't it wasn't worth it to me.
yes. That's it. That
Yeah.
is it. That's all it needs to be ever.
Yeah.
Right? Like we don't have to explain away
Right.
even why
Right.
you didn't do something. You went above and beyond the call to be like, hey, I'm going to reach out to this handful of folks. I'm going to
Mhm.
give a couple people some explanations,
Yep.
and that was maybe what you were called to do. And so great. But like, how often do we do that when we really don't even need to be doing that?
Right.
We don't need to
Right.
explain ourselves to anyone, especially
Right.
for the things that we're paying for that didn't meet our expectations. And I remember we had extensively talked about your situation, the two of us as friends.
Yes.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I just remember how the only reason why I know how much you perseverated on it is because
Mhm.
of the length of time we spent talking about it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how worried you were about letting it go and how you were afraid about offering feedback. And I mean, there were
Mhm.
so many different things and as a warrior, I get it, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm so proud of you for making that call because at the end of the day, you honored your knowing,
Yeah.
right? You
Right.
listened to yourself, your body, what you knew was, and it wasn't just the anxiety as you just put it. It was
Right.
just that you knew it wasn't right.
Right.
And like we can all have that agency. Just know when something isn't right and
Right.
away.
Right. Right. Like I like to sometimes say like, okay, is this my anxiety? Right? Or is this just not right? Right.
Mm,
And if it's like my anxiety, which is why I've done shows in the past, it's like, no, I can tell anxiety, like we can handle this. Right. But
right.
there's like a difference when you just know deep down it's not right and your anxiety is echoing the not rightness.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a curious thing. It's a hard practice, I think,
Yeah.
for some of us to understand that sometimes we need to listen to our anxiety. Sometimes we need to tell anxiety that we're okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we can move through something and be okay,
Yeah.
even if it's uncomfortable. So, but at the end of the day, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah. That was
As you
it.
said. That's it. And that's all it needs to be. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
So good.
What about you? Do you have a quitting story?
Yeah. Okay. So, a lot of my narrative around this is even if I'm terrible at something like tech, sometimes the narrative in my mind is do it by yourself. Don't ask for support.
Yeah. Oh,
Figure
I
it
know.
out.
Oh, what a terrible narrative sometimes.
Yeah, it sucks. And because I'm so patently just objectively bad at tech. And there are certain things regarding tech that I am just like, please do this for me. I can't do this. So I feel pretty confident in the fact that I know myself when it comes to tech, and I hand off the responsibility with no problem because I don't want to fucking do it. Right.
Yeah.
I know myself. Some of it I think is that like, it's exhausting to try to learn it. And it's so hard to learn new things. And so I want to push it off and I want to just not learn it. And so some of it's just like the pattern of just like, don't do it because, you know, you have other people that you can pass it off to and they'll do it for you.
Right.
And some of it though is like, I should be able to do this. And so the narrative is I should be able to do this. I should not pay someone else to do this. If I pay someone else to do this, I am failing, right? Like I am quitting on believing that I'm capable of doing it on my own or whatever. And so like, you know, this has to do with when I chose to outsource and have someone else create my website for me. And so like I had made a website years ago when I first started my small business and it was fine. Like it was okay. It was, I was very proud of it at the time. And so great.
Yep.
Great. And as a non-tech person, as a terrible tech person, I was like, I made this thing and it's not the worst. Right.
Right.
And but I had a lot of shame around sharing it with people.
Yes. God, I
order.
feel like you're in my head.
I was like, I don't want to send this to people.
Yeah.
People are like, do you have a card? Sure, I have a card, but don't visit the website. Like, just find
Even
me on Instagram, email me.
I love it. I'm proud of it because I did it, but I don't want anyone else to
But
see
I don't
it.
want anyone, right. I made something that I never thought I could have made, but it's not good enough for me to actually share it with the world. I know that.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, and as I started to grow and, you know, business became better and stronger and more people were asking for a website. And I was like, who needs that even? Like, who needs that kind of footprint? And then, you know, not like within the last year, like Instagram had went down for a couple of days and it was very stressful. And I was like, okay, fuck, like I can't rely on these free platforms to post my things anymore. So I need to do something about it. And so my initial plan was to do it myself, right? I started researching fancier website design, hosting servers and stuff like that. And I had signed up for one and it was much more challenging than the one that I had previously made my first website on. And so I was just like trying to navigate it myself with like YouTube videos, which you know, Adam's always just like, just look it up on YouTube. And I'm just like, I can't learn that way. I want to be able to learn that way, but I watch a video, I read the captions and all the things. And I'm like, I'd have to watch this 20,000 times.
Right. Like
and
pause it, pause it.
Oh my God. Just
like back and forth.
So slow. It's unbelievable how slow my brain works when it comes to this kind of stuff. It's like I have a firewall up or something. And so
look at you using a tech term there.
I love you for calling that out. I knew it too. I'm like, and I wondered if you were going to say anything. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to let this skate. But since you said it, oh, I know, right? I'm not taking the wins when I have them.
Yeah.
Anyway. And so I worked, air quotes around worked on this second site for a week. Like, you know, again, in between knowing that it was time to get rid of and scrap my old website and wanting to do something about a new one. I had it in my brain of like, you did the first one. And so hopefully you've learned something in the last few years. You can figure this out, you know, whatever. And like, look, at the end of the day, maybe if I would have logged hundreds of hours and literal blood, sweat, and tears in the middle of the night, you know, doings, I might have been able to figure it out. Maybe would I have been proud? Probably. Right? I probably would have been really fucking proud.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I would have been like a puddle on the floor, like, look what I made, everyone.
Right.
Like fall asleep for like a year. And then what
Right.
if it needed updating? What if, who
Yep.
knows? And so I had to meet, I mean, the level of sweat and stress that I had just trying to navigate, trying it myself was
Mhm.
so exhausting
Yeah.
that within 7 days, I was like, it was one of those moments that happens to me a lot when I'm ready to quit something, which is
Mhm.
just like literal, like imagine just papers flying in the air, arms up, saying fuck it.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, my resistance is always don't invest. Don't spend money where you don't
When
have
you
to.
can do it, when you can do it yourself, as opposed to an expert who can do it quicker and
And
you
more
know,
efficiently and better
yeah,
and
yeah,
make it look like everything you want. And it's
yeah.
just like, I don't know why I have so much shame around like throwing money at the problem in some ways. And I
Mhm.
think that's some partially how I was raised, and my parents literally would do and fix everything. They didn't
Mhm.
pay for anyone to do anything. Like, I mean, with certain renovations were impossible or too big, but like for the most part, both my
Right.
parents, my dad especially, they were fixing the things, doing the things, researching it and figuring it out on their own. And so I kind of adopted that mentality, and to the point where it was like, I'm going to kill myself trying to make
Yeah.
this thing.
Right.
It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. And so within a week, I was just like, I'm like, well, that was fast. To me, it didn't feel fast, but like in the rear view,
No.
I'm like, I gave up pretty quickly. But I did spend a long time just navigating it that one
Yeah.
week. And I was just like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I at least can research what it would cost to pay someone else to do this. Even if I
Yeah.
don't go forward with that, I can find it out. Anyway, wrapping it up, I wound up paying to have my website done. It's amazing. It's
It's
beautiful. It's all the things I
amazing.
would have wanted. And yes, did I pay to have someone else do it? Sure. But am I just as proud of it as I would have been without the blood, sweat, and tears? Hell
Mhm.
yeah, I'm proud of it.
Yeah. You still had
'Cause
to
at the
put
end of
work
the
into
day,
it.
it's not my product in terms of that I didn't make it, but
Right.
it's my business, right? It's my face. It's my testimonials.
You had to give
It's my
information
pictures.
about
It's my
what you offer. You had to,
right.
you weren't
Lots
like,
of
hey, I'm a
writing
yoga
and
teacher. Like
right.
write it up.
It was still work. Yes, thank you
Yes.
for saying that. It was still work on my end. And like, even though I didn't do the techie, like actually
Right.
navigate building out a website kind of thing,
Mhm.
I still had work to do. So yes, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and so like that was an easy time that I could think of in recent months and years where I was just like, I can't and I won't.
Yeah.
So
And your website looks
someone else did it.
amazing. And it looks so amazing that I have hired the same person after staring at your website for like a year to
Right?
finally, same thing. I mean, literally, when you were like, I made
Quitting
this one
pays off.
website and I was proud of it, but I don't want anyone to see it. Like, I feel the
Yep.
exact same way, right? Like, I can
Totally.
keep adding pictures and text, but it's just crap. It's
It just looks
ugly.
like a Word document with
Yes,
pictures, right?
yes, it's
Totally.
so ugly, right? And so,
Yes.
so your quitting on making a website inspired me to finally invest too, because I had the same exact mentality.
Right, because then maybe you would have figured out how to make it, but it would have been maybe a much more painstaking process.
Mhm.
And you're still working. You are still working very hard on your site, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And so
It's
like,
almost
but
done. Mhm.
yay. Yay, exactly. And so
Yeah.
I think that sometimes quitting pays off. And I'm
Yeah.
of the mind too of like quit every day a little bit. Quit something every day.
I
Even if
love
it's
it.
just I'm done right now.
Yeah.
I quit. Like it doesn't have to be a big quit. It can be
I'm
just like
stopping I'm stopping loading the dishwasher. I want to sit down and read a book. I want to sit
yes.
down and scroll. I want to sit down and pet my dog. What
The
just quit
dishes will
on
still
your
be there.
dishes for a bit, right? Like,
They'll
yeah,
still be there.
yeah.
They're not going anywhere.
Quit
Right.
on
And so
the
like,
book that you're not enjoying. It's okay. You don't have to push through, right?
yes.
That one's a hard one, but
I give it no, I've gotten better. I give a
yeah.
book till just before the halfway mark.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not fully engaged and
Mm.
enthralled, I'm done. Can't do
Sometimes
it.
I do skimming. Sometimes
Can't do
like,
that. I can't do.
because sometimes I
Interesting.
just still want to know the end.
Oh, I'll just go to the end. I
Oh,
will just read
okay.
the end of the book.
I
don't always get all the
skim.
details, right? But
Yeah.
I just at least I know
Yeah.
maybe get an idea of how things wrapped up.
Right.
But honestly, most of the time, I don't even do that because I
Just
don't want to
quit the
know.
book. Right.
Just get the book.
There's too many good books out there to waste your time with a boring book.
Same thing with a movie.
Yes.
Stop watching the movie. Quit the show.
Yeah.
There's other shows.
Don't force
There's a million
yourself.
fucking shows.
Yeah. See, a small quit every day.
A small quit every day. And it's just
Mhm.
like a little mini win for yourself, right?
Mhm.
Like You told yourself you didn't need to see something through just because you started it. You don't
Right.
have to do everything that you've started.
Right.
And you can hand the reins off to someone that's better equipped. Right?
Yes.
So it's like
Maybe
it's
your
quitting, but it's
partner's
not quitting.
better at
It's
loading the dishwasher.
100%. He is better at loading the dishwasher. I
I'm
will
the
say.
better one. I'm actually the better one.
I'm good at unloading the dishwasher because he like never does that.
See, we find our
Calling you out,
strength.
babe.
Some of us are good
it's easier
closers.
to unload the dishwasher. You're literally just pulling out clean dishes and putting them away.
See,
That's
I mean,
easy.
yeah, that is easier. I do enjoy loading a dishwasher. I feel like it's a little like there's an art. It's a Tetris. Like it's like a puzzle for me. I'm okay with load. I'm all right with that. But yeah, unloading, you are correct. It is easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Anyway, warriors, what we're trying to say is it's okay to quit. You do not have to see everything through. Sometimes you might disappoint other people, but is it worth disappointing yourself?
Right.
We don't believe that's true. We believe it's definitely worth disappointing others before you disappoint yourself. That is the official standpoint and feeling on our part.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like until your website was done, I was really disappointed that you didn't follow through on your own website. Like I was up nights and nights thinking about it,
It would have just been like one of those little like construction workers going, we're under construction. Like a little giphy dude just like holding a hammer. And that would be it for the rest of time because I never would have gotten it done. I would have maybe begged Adam to help me and he would have, and it would have been maybe fine. But like
time consuming.
He doesn't make websites either.
No.
So like it would have been maybe better than what I would have come up with on my own, but like that's not
you
his
need an expert. Like they need to know how to write stuff and
and make things look right and that cares about fonts and colors and videos and images. I'm like, this is exhausting looking at beautiful websites. And so it was worth every penny. I would do it again in a heartbeat. So yeah. Anyway.
Do you have a win of the week? Win of the week.
It was lovely. My win yesterday, I had some anxiety because we were getting the trees in our yard, which we have a lot of big trees in our yard, cleaned up. A lot of them had low-hanging branches that were like really close to the fence. Some of them, we had this big bush that's the roots were penetrating our patio. And, it needed some tending to.
Yeah.
And so I had some anxiety even leading up to this appointment because I love, love, love the trees in my yard. And we had some trauma a few years back where a big portion of my favorite tree in the middle of our yard had fallen on our roof and our roof had just been redone. And thankfully it didn't penetrate the roof and we weren't damaged. The damage was minimal. And so we felt like we skirted something though. We got lucky. And so we've kind of even put off in the last couple of years since that happened, doing something about bringing up the branches a little bit, right? Like trimming down a lot of the lower branches and parts of the trunk that were like a little unruly and bringing the trees up a little bit. And so I was really nervous about it. And so the guys came and I was like holed up in my bedroom, in our bedroom with Hurley. And, I was kind of just like doing some deep breaths in the bed. And you and I were texting a little bit about other things, but then I wound up telling you what was going on. And I felt at the end of the day, the thing that I kept reminding myself of is it's just like a haircut. You're giving the tree a haircut. Haircuts are good for trees. Haircuts are good for people and dogs and everyone. Haircuts are healthy. It's okay. You're not harming the tree. You're not harming anything. It's still going to have beautiful shade. You're still going to get all the things that you need out of these trees and that you want and love about them. And they'll be healthier. And at the end of the day, and you're saving your roof potentially from the next big storm. Or
because maybe the storm will give it a haircut and you won't like that haircut.
Exactly. And the haircut that it gave it a couple of years ago was not cute for a good long while. It's growing back in right now, but so it broke my heart. And so I think that my win there is just like, I was able to talk myself down from the ledge and I didn't have to, initially I told Dad, I'm like, I don't want to be home when this happens. I can't be home. Just like text me from afar, let me know everyone's okay, everything's okay. And then I'll come home when it's done. And that was the plan. And then at the last minute, I decided I've got this. I'm going to stay home and move through it. And I did. And I was glad that I did. And the yard looks beautiful and everyone wins. So
yay! I like that win. Especially because I
Thanks.
didn't know the ending. We texted yesterday, but I
That's
didn't know
true.
the ending. So now I know.
Yep. Harley and I sat in the yard with my book for a little while right before we recorded, actually. And it was great. It's all
Awesome.
good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Love it. What a relief.
I know. Yes, it was a relief. And I will feel my future self will feel better, I think.
Yes.
And there's a big, horrible windy storm that
Right.
was unanticipated. So
Right.
hopefully I'll rest easy a little bit more in the middle of the night.
That future
when there's
self
big
can
wind.
thank that previous self. Hey, thanks
Yes.
for doing this. Maybe
Yes.
less anxiety.
All right, warriors. Well, we hope that you take some time to think about this topic today or this week, right? Think about quitting sometimes. What are some big or little ways that you can quit things? Can you remind yourself that you're not a bad person if you decide to quit things? That disappointing yourself is obviously a no-go. It's a non-starter. And so just remember that. We love you. If you'd like to connect with us for any reason, you can join our Instagram fam. We're at Anxiety Warriors Podcast. Feel free to shoot us an email at anxietywarriorspodcast@gmail.com. Shout out those wins of the week, big or small. Let us know if you have any great topic ideas for us, things you'd love to hear us chat about here on the pod. We'd love to hear from you. Or if you think you'd be a great fit as a guest on our show, let us know. Let's get you booked. Please take a second and smash that 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're tuning in. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure you're following us and subscribed on all these platforms. It tells all those fun little algorithmic places that, you're listening. And that helps the show because you never miss an episode, and it helps you because you never miss an episode, we hope. And leave us a review, maybe a sentence or two. Those are helpful too. People love to hear other people's thoughts. Ratings are great, but other people's thoughts on the show, even if it's just we love this pod or I love this pod, can really make a difference in helping us grow our community of listeners.
Yeah. It's not just for us.
We hope not.
It's not, the reviews aren't just for us to be happy. The reviews are to have other people see that, people like this podcast. People listen to this podcast. I'm going to check it out now too.
Yeah. So if you're listening right now and you love hearing from us and our amazing guests, and you get something out of listening to us every week and our guests, then please share your thoughts. We'd love to see them, and we'd love for new warriors to find us because of them.
Yeah.
And you can shop our fun merch in our Threadless link. It's in our show notes, so check that out.
Yes. Well, thank you all so much for going on this journey with us. We are so grateful that we get to do this with you every week.
Till next time.